In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the best audio setup for 100 Australian dollars. So for around 100 Australian dollars, you can get yourself a pretty good sounding audio setup. And you can actually hear me using it right now. It consists of two main parts, the microphone and the audio interface. And the microphone of choice is the Behringer SL 84C. This microphone only costs around 20 Australian dollars. And for that price, you get a very good sound quality. The sound of this microphone is very nice and even. It picks up all frequencies quite evenly and it doesn't accentuate some sounds more than others. Like some microphones, like for example the Behringer XM8500, which is a lot more expensive, costing around 50 Australian dollars. That microphone sounds quite muddy compared to this microphone, which has a very crystal clear sound. But when you do get close to it, it still does have some warmth to the sound. And this microphone's build quality is also pretty good and it'll easily stand the test of time. It's made basically entirely from metal other than this part here on the microphone, and that's pretty good for 18 Australian dollars. Now it doesn't feel particularly heavy or solid when you have it in your hand compared to some other microphones, but it is fully metal. It's just pretty thin, but it still is metal and it feels pretty solid. And moving on to the audio interface of choice here, we have the Behringer Uphoria UM2 audio interface. This audio interface recently has been costing a fair bit more than it used to. I picked mine up back in the day for about 60 Australian dollars. Now they're costing about 80 Australian dollars. Sometimes you can find it for 70. But for that price, you get a good audio interface that easily stands the test of time. I've had mine for about 5 years and it's been on basically every day, and it still works flawlessly. The build quality is fully plastic though. That's one thing to keep in mind. If you are going to be traveling with it and stuff, it might crack. But other than that, it is very well built and it's very simple as well. It's got 3 knobs on the top, which are your 3 main gain settings. You've got the gain for the microphone or the XLR port. Then you also have an instrument port so you can connect instruments. And then you've got yourself the headphone jack so you can monitor your audio, and also at the back you can plug in speakers. So for around 70 Australian dollars, this audio interface is very good, and it also doesn't have much hiss to the sound like some cheap audio interfaces, even pushed right to the max with the Shure SM7B, which requires a lot of gain. That means you have to turn the gain basically right to the max. Even then, it doesn't actually have much hiss to the sound, and that's really good for such a cheap interface. Now with this microphone, the gain settings you'll be using is around 85% on the gain knob, and then in Windows itself, I don't use Mac, so I'm not sure on how much there, but in Windows, you'll have to have your gain set at 70%. Now, a few other things you'll need to pick up for this setup is an XLR cable. Now, they are very cheap. You can get them for $5 easily. And another thing would be a boom arm or some sort of mic stand. Now, you can pick up a boom arm for as cheap as 15 Australian dollars. So it does end up totaling to around $110, but I called it $100 because prices do vary quite a bit. Sometimes you can pick up the Uphoria UM2 for 60 Australian dollars like I did. So for 100 Australian dollars, this setup is really good. With a dynamic microphone like the Behringer SL84C, you won't pick up much background noise. So if you're in a noisy environment, this setup is perfect because it means it won't really pick up much of it and it'll mostly just focus on your voice. The only thing you'd need still for this setup is a pair of headphones. Now, if I was to recommend any that are cheap, it would be the Behringer BH470 headphones. They are very good, well built, and have a good sound quality for around 35 Australian dollars. So hopefully this video did help you out. If it did, drop a like on the video. If you didn't, drop a dislike on the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.